Well, all right, kiddos, it's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains. We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Live It Up with Mountain Life podcast. I'm your host, Colin Field. There's no definitive history of Great Lakes surfing. The closest thing is the book Surfing the Great Lakes by P.L. Strass, published back in 2000. It lists an unknown GI that returned to Grand Haven, Michigan from Hawaii and surfed in 1945. But more than likely, that GI was actually the late Dr. David H. Siebold of Grand Haven, Michigan. I interviewed him back in 2017, but he passed in 2022 at the age of 95. Many consider him the first to surf the Great Lakes, and that was in 1955. When I graduated from dental school, I took on the task as a one-year employee of a clinic in Hawaii, he told me from his Grand Haven home. We took care of indigent kids up to the 6th grade. I was the only haole. My buddy was in the Navy out there, and he wanted to take up surfing. At that time, you could pick up a Navy life raft, which was balsa wood with heavy canvas. You could pick them up for $15. We stripped the covering off, and from the plywood, we built ourselves 2 surfboards. They were just slightly over 10 feet long. They weren't the best looking creatures, but they worked. I took it to Waikiki and began to surf there. I did learn to surf quite well there. I promised my wife Dottie I would sell the board, but I didn't. I brought it back to Grand Haven where we set up our dental practice. That was in the fall of 1955, and that's when I began surfing on Lake Michigan. I remember the first waves, he told me. I was quite excited. The waves looked good. They weren't ocean waves, but it was doable, so I gave it a try. I failed a few times trying to get up. I wasn't quick enough at first, but I finally learned the technique. The kids followed in my footsteps. The Beatons, the Whites, and Rusty Graham became better surfers than me for sure. I kept it up until I was in my 60s, but then I got to the point where I wasn't quick enough to get up. I still have a surfboard. The old balsa wood I made in Hawaii I gave to my local museum. While Siebold was oblivious to the Great Lakes surfers of 2017, he was happy to hear about the modern-day exploits. Isn't that something, he said, when he heard about the blossoming scene. I think that's just wonderful. In those pre-internet days, scenes developed independently throughout the Great Lakes. The Grand Haven scene began to grow. Then a group began in Sheboygan, Michigan, then Cleveland. The Wyldewood Surf Club was formed in 1965 out of Port Colbourne, Ontario, and from its very beginnings, it was an international club with both Canadian and American members. Wyldewood Surf Club member Bob Sobering, aka Grumpy Bob, began surfing in 1970, then picked it up again in the 90s. He's a divisive figure in the Great Lakes surf scene. And in 2017, when I interviewed him for the Mountain Life annual story, The Fifth Coast, he was as opinionated as ever. Those opinions have got him in a lot of hot water over the years, but even his main nemesis agrees this interview is worth listening to. You should air it, said a guy who repeatedly fought face-to-face with Grumpy Bob. It's history, and it's important, so we're going to air it. But first, here's a word from our sponsor. For almost 40 years, the Jack Wolfskin name and paw print have been a symbol of their trailblazing spirit and regard for nature. Since 1981, they have led the pack with innovative, eco-conscious technologies, a commitment to social responsibility, and forward-thinking designs. If you haven't seen the Jack Wolfskin paw print before, it's because they have only just completed their newest den here in North America. Jack Wolfskin will see you in the wild, wherever that is for you. Here's my 2017 interview with Bob Sobering, aka Grumpy Bob. It's one man's take on the history of Great Lakes surfing. Welcome to the Live It Up with Mountain Life podcast.
It's kind of busy right now.
Are you?
I have a job.
Yeah.
And a family.
Yeah. I hear you.
And I'm heading off to Florida on Sunday night. So.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. So, tell me about yourself.
Yeah. I'm a journalist, and I'm working on a story for Mountain Life Annual. Basically, I've been given the, hey, Great Lakes surfing exists, to write a story about it.
We exist.
So that's what I've been doing, and
we just started to exist. That's I like that. I'm going to use that.
No, you know how no one's really heard of it, and I did talk to Doc Siebold the other day.
Yeah, not a person I know, but remember that the Great Lakes has 10,000 miles of coastland.
Right. Yeah.
And there's many tribes that have evolved over the years. You still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just walking.
Things were so different pre-internet, huh?
Well, there's different histories. I mean, there's our little thriving mouse hole of Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and there's probably the granddaddy of them all, which has got to be Lake Michigan, the new buffalo crowd. Okay. But it's like I say, add it up, it totals like the whole coast of the United States.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about it that way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. When did you start surfing?
I first stood up in 1970.
Okay, cool. And I think someone said you had something to do with the Wyldewood Surf Club?
I'm a member.
Yeah.
Wyldewood is it's a little different than most clubs. You don't join; they choose you.
Okay. Yeah. So
I was a friend of McGill Shaw's for quite a number of years before he passed away. And somewhere I don't know 5-6 years ago I was just chosen, and it's almost like Hell's Angels.
Okay. Yeah.
They handed me my colors. We went to McGill's grave, and I swore allegiance to the Wyldewood Surf Club.
Okay.
It's very, very odd. I mean, there's not a whole lot of members, and it's more of a I don't know. It's a state of mind.
Okay. Yeah.
You talked to Robin, or did you talk to Mike Sandusky?
I haven't talked to either of those guys. No, Mike Sandusky is Surf Ontario. Is that right?
Yeah, he owns a small business in Toronto. He sells surfboards, stand-up paddle boards.
Right. Yeah.
Robin Paquin is actually she's a member of the Wyldewood Surf Club. She doesn't make a big deal out of it. She was one of the first girl Toronto people that we chose.
Yeah. Cool. And why Grumpy Bob?
Where'd you find that?
I don't know. I thought that was your nickname.
It was. I didn't self-gloss it. I was given that nickname by Matt Roy.
Okay.
Matt Roy's uncle, John O'Hare, and his, I'm going to say aunt, Darcy Roy, were, part of the founding members of the Wyldewood Surf Club, Lake Erie, the whole Shrixon Shores, Wildwood Road kind of deal. Yeah. And Matt's like, third generation surfer. You want to hear the story? He actually dragged me kicking and screaming into Facebook. He set up my Facebook page, and I guess I didn't really realize it, but my nickname had always been Grumpy Bob. So
Grumpy Bob Surf and Skate on Facebook.
Well, it is what it is. I'm sitting right now in Grumpy Bob Surf and Skate. I'm looking up at the ceiling, and there's many surfboards, dozens. I can't even begin to count how many there are. And I just picked up another one last night.
Nice. What are you fixing them, or are you you said you're a collector, right?
I collect, I build. Yeah. I've got a 1967 Dewey Weber square back performer sitting on the rack right now that I'm in the midst of, doing a restoration on.
Okay.
People call me, they seek me out, they go, I got an old surfboard. It came out of a lake in Gatineau, and it's got a dock ring on the nose of it. Seriously.
Yeah.
There's I can't even begin to count the number of boards here. Huh. It's just, I think, I don't know for sure, but I think it's probably the oldest surfboard in Canada hanging from the rafters. I'm looking at it right now.
Really?
It's a 1949 Tom Blake paddleboard.
Okay.
hollow paddleboard. I can't really tell.
Yeah.
Sorry, because it sort of came into the country, clandestinely. But it was used as a rescue training tool in a pool in upstate New York. Semi public pool.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know. There's probably less than 500 in the world, and I've got one.
Wow. Cool. Is that a business you're running?
No. It's if you look at the Facebook page, it's a group. It's just it's people that are interested in history, and I build old boards and around the shapes of the old boards. I guess that's really why I have a ceiling full of old boards, is just because they give me inspiration to build.
Yeah.
I want people to, because I started surfing in 1970. I want people to know that this is what it was like back then. It wasn't all just Chinese-made thrusters that come in boxes from China. This is
right.
This is what boards used to look like, and I build them, lake specific, and I let people use them. I occasionally sell them.
Yeah.
Not very often. I mostly donate them.
Okay. To people to surf?
To events, Ladies of the Lakes, Glass Love, I make boards, and I have an issue with, I don't think they're good enough, but so I just basically donate them.
Okay, cool.
I have good means.
Yeah. Nice.
What else do you want to know?
I guess, like I say, it's I'm writing a story. It's very vague. My aim right now, my focus. So, I guess. So you've been around since 1970.
No. Get something straight here. I first stood up in 1970 because I was a kid growing up in Grimsby, Ontario, and picked up a copy of Surfer magazine in Dyson's Pharmacy in like 1968, something like that. Mm-hmm. My parents were from the prairies. My mom was from Brandon, my dad was from Gretna, and for some reason when they got back from the war, they had this obsession to travel. So we drove to El Salvador in 1964. We drove to El Salvador, and I saw waves, and I heard of surfers, and we used to travel to the East Coast all the time, Massachusetts, Cape Cod, and then they kind of zeroed in on Cape Hatteras, and I was a National Geographic kid. Yeah. And I went, holy crap, there's waves there. And, after the first or second year we went down there, I said, I must have a surfboard. So I built one.
Nice. Yeah.
And, I just started surfing.
Yeah.
But I kind of got away from it after that. I got off on another tangent. I puttered with motorcycles for 30 years.
Yeah.
But really, I picked it up again, somewhere around in the, early mid-90s, It became kind of acceptable to, surf on the lakes, and I showed up at the local break, which is the bridge, in Lake Ontario, and there was a half a dozen guys out there. I paddled out, and, everybody sort of nodded, because lake surfing is all about, finding out when it is, where it is. And back then, of course, there was no internet. There were no buoys. There were no, satellites or anything. We just sort of, there were methods, and you sort of figured out when it was, simplistically. If it was raining, the wind was from the east and you went to the bridge. It was hot and windy, you went down to Lake Erie. Okay. So you just sort of showed up, and, there was a handful of guys out there, and they just sort of gave you a nod. Hey, you're here.
Right.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
But that was back then,
Yeah.
Nowadays it's totally different. It's a culture of entitlement,
Yeah.
Eyes on, who can tell me what's going on here? What are the GPS coordinates for that spot?
Right.
It's different.
What do you think of the scene nowadays?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Winter wetsuits and global warming, because I remember 25 years ago there was no winter surfing because the lakes iced up, but
right. Right.
Nowadays, I mean, gosh, I don't think Lake Erie didn't ice up this year at all, and it didn't ice up like 2 years before, and
right. Yeah.
it was very, very, very rare. I mean, there's no question there's climate change.
Yeah.
Where I typically surf is down at the bridge in Hamilton, and 25 years ago there was 50 feet of shore ice. 50 feet, 100 feet out of shore ice. Nobody would even think of surfing in the winter, but now it's become so commonplace. And guys like Mike, they're selling high tech, gear for getting into cold water, and for affordable prices. Anybody with disposable income can get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess my Grumpy Bob's whole mantra is like, okay, you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been.
Yeah.
So I kind of throw that out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not accepted all that readily.
Yeah. Has there been problems with pollution for you?
Nah, we rinse our insides out with alcohol after we're done.
Inside and out.
That's kind of more of a 90s thing. There was a whole scene back in the 90s when there was a sort of a movement of I mean, you gotta remember, like 20 years ago, if you were a Great Lakes surfer, you were like very, very, obscure. You were it was basically hippies, punks, and school teachers. They were the only people that did it.
Right.
School teachers because they had the means, hippies because they could travel a bit and get the gear that they needed, and punks because they just wanted to drink and party, and it was a cool scene.
Yeah.
But I guess that's probably what annoys some of the old timers about the new wave is that, I don't know, they don't get it.
Right.
I think I said that in my email to you, and when I said don't get it, I mean get it.
Yeah.
There's certain things that are just traditional about surfing. You can go back to the 60s in Malibu and Dora, or you can go to San Clemente in the 90s, or Huntington Beach in the 2000s. There's so much tradition out there, and Canadian kids they don't get it.
Right.
You don't just paddle out into a pack and go, hey, look at me, I'm a kook from the lakes.
Yeah.
You got to kind of earn your place in the spot.
How do they do that, I guess?
How do you do it?
Yeah.
With respect. Respect the the old guy out there, or surfing's always been a kind of a, I don't know, nobody will agree with me on this, but it's always been gauged on how good you are.
Yeah.
If you go out and if you paddle out and you catch a few waves and you don't make an idiot of yourself, then you'll gain respect. If you paddle out into the middle of a pack and get in everybody's way, you're just a kook from the lakes.
Right.
I mean, I've traveled lots of places all over the world, and if you just paddle out and take your turn, mind your business, they don't know where you're from. You're just you're just another guy.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
And so how like you said, you don't like the scene now.
I didn't say I didn't like it. It's just it's not what I expected it would be.
Yeah.
The internet's changed that a lot. And there is a certain sense of entitlement. And God, I don't care if it's, mountain biking or, snowboarding. You're going to have those people that just think that, they deserve, I've spent this money, I've bought all this equipment, I've gone to mountain co-op, and, I've got the helicopter ride. God damn it, I'm going to go out there and, do my thing.
Yeah.
Even though they have no, reason to be there. And it's the same thing with surfing, people just think that, because they've gone to Surf Ontario or wherever, and they've, bought the board and they bought the wetsuit, and, they're just going to paddle out. Oh, I took a surf lesson when I was in Costa Rica, so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It takes I don't know how many times I've heard that story. I was in Mexico and I took a surf lesson, so now I really want to go and surf. Where should I go, and when are the waves going to happen? Will they happen on Wednesday? I've got the afternoon off. And it really isn't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I came from an era when there was no internet.
Yeah.
There used to be a telephone. Where are you? And you're in West Coast or are you in Ontario?
Collingwood.
You're Collingwood, okay.
Yeah.
You used to phone a telephone number, and it was Environment Canada's weather information line. It was out of the Hamilton Airport. Mm-hmm. You'd have to sit through 3 minutes of it to get to the marine weather report. The boy reading from Port Colbourne, 3 feet at 4 seconds. The wind is 18 miles an hour out of the southwest. Remember that was $1 a minute. And you had to wait till the third minute to get, and you go, whoo, there's waves on Lake Erie, or whoo, there's waves on Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That was surf forecasting. I mean, nowadays, God, there's forecasting websites, and there's a guy in Toronto that actually runs, surf forecasting clinics, for $75, he'll sit you down for 3 hours and show you how to find waves. It's so much different now. It's so easy, and I guess that's what annoys older guys or guys that have been around for like 20, 30 years is, holy crap, we learned all this stuff the hard way. We didn't have pictures on the internet showing us where the waves were and when to be there.
Is it jealousy?
No, I think it's lack of respect.
Yeah.
For what came before, and again, that's what Grumpy Bob is all about. Try to teach people, why we are what we are and where we came from.
Yeah. Cool. I interviewed Dan.
Yeah. I got some issues with
Do you?
I don't take money. They do. They're doing it all for money. I don't care what it says, but that's what they're doing it for.
Yeah.
I mean, he runs, surf trips for, entitled people that can afford to do that. I just show up, and I've been I've gone a few times now, and I've sort of figured out a few places, but it's, I do it the hard way.
Yeah.
I guess that's what old people do. We always like to try everything out the hard way.
And then you're bitter about it.
Bitter?
Grumpy.
Bitter.
Grumpy about it, maybe grumpy.
There's a term in surfing that somebody pointed out to me. I hadn't even thought about it until the other day. But it's like you got to work on your stink eye.
Yeah.
You show up there and you kind of give people the stink eye. Like, what are you doing here? Should you be here?
Yeah.
If you can surf, okay, you're all right. But if you're just standing on the sandbar getting in the way, then like, why are you here?
Right.
And it's been like that for like generations.
Yeah.
But there was an article recently. I forget who put it on. It was on Facebook, and they were saying that, well, basically winter surfing in the Great Lakes has only been popular for the last 5 years. Well, holy crap! You should have seen, like, there was hundreds and hundreds of replies to this post. Like, what are you talking about the last 5 years?
Yeah.
We used to wear, we used to go to a place down on Ottawa Street called Bob's Sport and Dive.
Okay. Yeah.
And, you would augment your summer wetsuit, which was like a 3 mil, and you'd go and buy the old rental, boots and gloves and hoods because they used to run, like scuba diving clinics in the summertime at, quarries and stuff. You'd buy these horrible lobster claw gloves and awful boots and hoods and then there would always be some guy that would show up and he'd have a roll of duct tape.
Yeah.
You'd put your wetsuit on and you'd put on all this horrible rubber and he'd tape up your wrists and he'd tape up your ankles and you'd go out in December, the water's like 38 degrees. And it was a matter of how long you could stand it. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. And, you'd always think in the back of your head, okay, I've got to walk back to the car. I can't wait till I'm too numb or I might die.
Right.
That's what we did. That's what it was about. If you go right back to the 60s, to the Gilly Brothers, I remember there was a Super 8 movie called Moody March or something. The Gilly Brothers live in Vancouver now, and they filmed it in Burlington because they didn't actually surf on the Hamilton side of the bridge. They surfed on the Burlington side. And they boot walked Chedoke Golf Course in the morning, and they skied it. And then in the afternoon, they went down and surfed, the Burlington, the Burlington side.
Okay. Yeah.
And they started a beach fire. This is pretty common. They started a beach fire. They wore woolen sweaters.
Yeah.
And they would go out in the water for like 15 minutes, try to catch a wave, and then run in there and run around the fire and smoke cigarettes to try and warm themselves up, and then go back out again on their longboards. That was like March surfing in like 1966.
Yeah. Wow.
When we were doing it in like the 1990s, we had like 3 mil wetsuits, and we thought we were the king.
Yeah.
Nowadays, God, you can buy 6 mil wetsuits with merino wool lining, and you can stay out in the water for 2, 3, 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, they even have heated wetsuits.
Right. Do they?
Yeah. Quicksilver came out with a battery-powered heated wetsuit a few years ago. They sold a few of them around here, but it's a gimmick like anything else. But anyway, so why should an old guy be, grumpy about it? Well, because, we worked our asses off to, try and figure this thing out. And, and these new kids can basically just drop their gold card down on the counter at, at Surf Ontario and be out there in the lineup. It's getting crowded. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you said something about surfing being popular in the last 5 years. In defense of that argument, I feel like it has really exploded in the past 5 years. Yeah.
But is that an actual explosion, or is that just the internet? Is it these cats like Surf Ontario and Surf the Greats that are just posting up all kinds of videos all the time to try to bring it into people's consciousness?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been shooting surfing on the Great Lakes probably for 8 years now, and I shoot at Delphi because it's like 5 minutes from my house. And probably 3 years ago there was 3 guys there.
Taylor Stubbins and Matt Dewar.
No, I don't know those guys.
Oh, they're the guys. They're the guys that actually opened up Georgian Bay back in, like the early mid 2000s.
Right.
These cats they used to be. Remember forums?
Yeah.
Long before there was Facebook, there was forums, and there used to be a forum out of Toronto called Origin Surf.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And Surfing Tay and Suffing Sucks. He misspelled surfing when he when he made his sign on. But it was 2 guys named Matt Dewar and Taylor Stubbins, and these guys. Seriously, they were explorers because, and they were both like teenagers, but they lived in, like Wasaga or somewhere up around there.
Okay.
And they found all these amazing spots in Georgian Bay. To the point where, established surfers from down around here were like, okay, where is that place? That looks unbelievable. And, you get 2 or 3 good days a year or ridiculously good days a year, and you add that into the 40 or 50 or 60 terrible days when it's just, wind slop. But
right.
And these guys are still out there. They're doing their post-grad work seemingly, and driving around all over the world, and But that was what it was about. Nobody gave up. Nobody knew where the spots were. If you were smart, you could kind of figure it out. But nowadays, it's like GPS coordinates, please.
Yeah.
Now, anybody got eyes on? That's the new mantra for Facebook. I've got eyes on Ashbridges Bay, eyes on Lake Erie, eyes on Kincardine. Tell me what's going on so you can tell me whether it's worth driving out there or not.
Right.
Go ahead.
Can I ask how old you are?
How old do you think I am?
Well, you're surfing in the 70s. I'll give you 55.
62.
62. Okay.
62, and my knees are starting to. I'm very, very selective of the days I go out when it's cold.
Yeah.
As I say, I'm heading off to Florida on Sunday night. for my, annual trip down there. We have a place we stay at. And believe it or not, this is kind of weird, but I stay over on the Gulf side and I like it there.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Because it's sort of like the lakes, but
right.
Because they don't get waves all that often, but, when they do, everybody really, really appreciates it.
Right.
Guys over on the East Coast are like so jaded by the whole thing. I mean, I've spent time on the East Coast, and they're bored with it's only waist high. There's a little bit of wind. It's kind of choppy. There's a ripple. I'm just going to go drink beer.
Yeah.
Guys on the Gulf Coast are like, woohoo! Anything to ride.
Right.
And
I mean,
there's
something to Great Lakes surfers in that they're going out when guys that surf the ocean all the time wouldn't even bother.
That's a kind of a notion that guys have, but I mean, it really depends on where you are. I mean, I've surfed some days on the lakes that are, that would rival, anyone in the ocean would go, holy crap, that doesn't exist. You can't do that in fresh water. I mean, it happens. Sometimes, you have to be there at exactly the right time, and it might only be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, a couple hours.
Right.
But I've seen it.
Yeah. Cool.
Is it luck of the draw? Maybe sometimes, but is it skill? Nah. Just put it down to experience.
Yeah.
So many of the guys that are doing it right now, it's just their wave forecasting skills are very basic. Find a place where the wind is blowing in your face for 6 hours and there will be waves. That's true. There will be.
Yeah.
But if you go a couple miles down the road, there might be a point there that guards it, and you have some really, really good waves.
Yeah.
That's the last bastion. That's the last secret that we've got in our arsenal. The old guys, there's spots we go to that nobody knows about.
Right. Cool.
But that's going to be the same anywhere. It's going to be the same in Oregon. It's going to be the same in Rhode Island. It's going to be the same in Florida. There's sandbars that pop up that only will be there. So it's experience.
Right.
You used to work for SB. Was it SBC?
I did. Yeah. How'd you know that? Yeah.
My wife. She's a Facebook troll.
Oh, is she? Okay.
Yeah. They did some articles on the Great Lakes back 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they had the Surf Mag for a couple of years, and I don't.
They were so BC, so Tofino centric. There would be the odd little blurb on Nova Scotia, but at that point in time, there was only 2 places in Canada where you surfed, Tofino or Lawrencetown.
Yeah.
And, now, I mean, it's way different. I mean, Tofino is just ridiculous, and I've never been to Lawrencetown. I can't afford the gas. I'd rather go to Maine or Rhode Island. It's it's the same water, and it takes me half as much time to get there, and costs me a quarter as much.
Right.
Maybe one day.
There is the Great Lakes Surf Journal now.
I blocked him on Facebook. He's kind of annoying. He was one of my preloaded friends when Matt Roy, opened up my Facebook page for me.
Yeah.
Him and they're just a little bit too much about themselves.
He's definitely very opinionated. And some guy, what's his name, Ben Gravy, posted a video. I think he's a professional East Coast surfer. He just posted a video surfing on Lake Erie and called it a novelty wave.
Well, you know what? That's fine. Keep telling people that. They won't come around anymore.
Right.
There's some. There's been some. Every year you get some ridiculously good days that no one would believe, and I don't care to tell anybody because I don't want to try to change their opinion. Yeah, keep telling us. Keep thinking that surfing on the Great Lakes is not possible.
Yeah. Have water levels been a problem for surfing in the Great Lakes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The water levels right now are ridiculously high.
Yeah. Is it 60 centimeters high on Ontario?
There's no beach right now. You know, where I kind of hang out down at the bridge in Hamilton. There is no beach. I mean, hopefully it'll go back down, but it's cyclic. 3-4 years ago, they were setting up lawn chairs, you know, out on sandbars that we surfed over, you know, 6 months before that.
Huh. Yeah.
The Great Lakes water level is kind of controlled by the hydro people.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, you can blame. I mean, there is. I'm not going to say for a second there isn't climate change because, as I say, you know, 20 years ago you just didn't surf the Great Lakes in the wintertime, and nowadays it's like so commonplace. But there's other forces at work here.
Yeah, for sure. So what's the future for Great Lakes surfing? You think? What's it going to look like?
It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. The crowds are going to get more and more entitled. The spots, the established spots are going to become more and more, less and less accessible.
Yeah.
And, you know, the public places where there are, you know, where you can actually, and let's face it, if you surf on the Great Lakes, you're driving a car.
Yeah.
Hardly anybody, you know, lives where there's consistent surf. So, you know, you're driving a car. Parking is going to be, you know, the biggest issue, and that's why the most popular spots right now are places where you can drive to and park your car.
Yeah.
What's the future? I don't know. That's something I hadn't really thought about before. I've never, you know, I haven't thought that far ahead.
Right.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
I've experienced what I've experienced. You know, as I get more mature, I'm happier to go out and be on my own.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, those times are going to become rarer and rarer.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a really tough question to ask for me, anyway. I mean, you know, you talk to Sandusky or you talk to Larry Carvalho, and you know they'll all go, "Woohoo! It's going to get bigger and bigger! Woohoo! You know, bring in the money, bring in the kooks, harvest the kooks."
Right.
But you know, I coined that term, harvest the kooks. It's going to keep growing. It's going to become more and more popular. It'll go. You know, right now it's on a peak. There could be something that, you know, changes it all. You know, God knows the battery operated Frisbee hula hoop drone could, you know, take a whole bunch of people away from it, and you know, and then they'll come back again. I mean, half of the people that are doing it right now are just doing it because it's fad.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, stand up paddle boarding, and you know what was it? There was that one picture of Jennifer Aniston paddleboarding down a crocodile infested river in Costa Rica like 10 years ago, and it blew up stand up paddleboarding.
Right.
You know, because all women saw that and go, "Oh God, I want to look just like her." And they all went out and bought stand-up paddleboards. I mean, they're still out there buying them.
Yeah.
And you know, people are out trying to surf them, and you know, that's kind of is that the future? Yeah, because it's a lot easier than actually, you know, laying on your belly and, you know, standing up on a surfboard.
Yeah. Awesome.
Here's what I want to be the future. I want there to be a guild of, you know, Great Lakes surfboard builders with a sense of history that can introduce, you know, the past to the present, so that people can understand, because you know they've come into it so quickly. They really don't understand that there's, you know, a history. Yeah. And they'll eventually, you know, understand, and they'll get into that, and then they'll travel around and become, you know, part of each other's tribes. Yeah. I like it. Yeah, it's bullshit. It's not going to happen. I know it'll never happen, exactly. But, you know, you asked me the question and I just answered it. You know, all the tribes, the Kincardine tribe and the Cleveland guys and the Sheboygan guys and, you know, Ryan Gerard and his Lake Michigan guys, and we'll all, you know, get into a big love-in, but it won't happen. We'll always be possessive about, you know, the little I said it before, and it was a term actually that I think Mickey Dora coined. It was the thriving mouse hole of surf culture.
Yeah, yeah.
There's going to be all these little thriving mouse holes. I mean, God, they surf in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah. Huh.
Apparently, there's 5 miles of fetch, and if you get a really, really strong west wind, I mean, that's a thriving mouse hole. There's like 7 guys that do it. And if, what's going to happen? I mean, people are going to start looking at iWindsurf and go, "Woohoo! Tahoe's going off this weekend," and all these other guys that have been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years can go, "Ooh, I hate all these guys that come in from California to ride our waves." It's going to happen everywhere. I mean, eventually, Russia will have localism. There's going to be guys on the Aliquid Islands that are like, God, we surfed out here 10 years ago without wetsuits, because we couldn't get them, and now you guys show up in helicopters and we hate you, comrade. That's the future of surfing. It's just going to continually get bigger and bigger. I mean, what did Bruce Brown say in 1964? There was only 3 countries in the world where people surfed.
Yeah.
And look at us now. There's tens of thousands of people that do it in the middle of Canada.
Right.
We haven't even counted in the artificial wave yet.
Right.
I mean, let's face it. There's going to be one in Canada in no time.
Yeah.
That'll be a great thing. That'll take all the pressure off the polluted waters that we swim in and paddle in.
Right. Yeah. Huh.
Anyway, what else do you want to know?
I think you've given me a lot to work with.
I'm looking at Andy Irons' 2005 World Championship board.
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
Hanging in the rafters. Yeah.
Huh.
And I'm looking at a Skip Fry and Donald Takayama, and I've got a guy coming over tomorrow. He looked me up. Apparently, some guy threw an ad. Kijiji is.
Yeah.
There's an ad on Kijiji right now, and it was like for 10 surfboards for sale. 3 of them are vintage. First dibs to Grumpy Bob. I looked at it and I said, "Fuck! I know one of those boards. That's got to be George Holmes from Niagara Falls." And sure enough, it was him. So I shot him a text last night, and I just said, "Okay, dibs on the 1975 Dyno David Nuhiwa."
Nice.
The only reason I wanted it is because I've got the matching skateboard that goes with it.
Okay, cool.
Dyno was a company out of Huntington Beach, California. They made their own surfboards, they made their own fins, and then when the skateboard thing, blew up, they started making their own fiberglass skateboards. Huh. And I have one in my collection.
Wow. Where's your collection going? Is it?
It just keeps growing.
Yeah.
It's organic. I move a few now and again, and for right now it's been kind of stagnant for about the last year or so, but every now and again people just call me up and go, "I got an old surfboard." Yeah. I got a Bing Vincent, which is probably, there might be 40 left in the world.
Wow.
And some guy I know from, Oshawa, he found it in a boathouse up in Gatineau, Quebec.
Wow.
Typical story. Well, they used to tow the kids around the lake behind a boat on it. I mean, a Bing Vincent is like, I talk to Randy Rarick every now and again. He's like, he can't believe the shit that I find around here. And I talk to Surfing Heritage Museum, and they're like, really? Like, where do you find this stuff? It's all over. It's on the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
People go on vacation. They buy an old surfboard. They putter around for 2 weeks, and then they bring it home as a souvenir, and it sits in a garage for 40 years. And I just love these things because I'm inspired by them, because the shapers that built them had beautiful curves that they'd developed over the years, and I can have those curves. I can look at these outlines, I can look at these bottom profiles, these plan shapes and rockers, and go, okay, I think I'll just put this, and this together and see how it felt.
Yeah.
For I got a board right here that I built a couple of years ago, and it's basically built off of a Jerry Lopez lightning bolt that I once was able to look at.
Yeah.
And I'll never ride pipeline, but just to know that there was hundreds of thousands of kids that would never ride pipeline either, but they wanted that board back then because Jerry Lopez lightning bolt was the board to have, whether you lived in San Clemente or New Jersey or
right.
Miami Beach. So I want to have that feeling too, and I give them to people, I lend them to people, I let them try them, and I want everybody to kind of understand the feeling that they had. It's like the 6-wheel skateboard that I built. And the guy's coming over tomorrow. He's got an 8-wheeler.
An 8-wheeler, Willie Winkles.
I knew Willie. No,
Yeah.
it was a Lonnie Toft.
Right. Okay.
Lonnie Toft was the first guy to build the 8-wheeler with like 4 sets of trucks on it.
Right.
I built the first that I know of, the first 6-wheeler in 1977.
Okay. Cool.
2 trucks in the back, 1 truck on the front.
Okay. Huh.
So I just built another one this winter. It's not quite tuned up the way I like it, or at least not the way I remember it. But
Is it a wider truck in the front, or?
No. It's 3 identical trucks.
Yeah.
But the feeling, I don't know, maybe it's just me, because I'm 62 now, and it felt a whole lot different, when I was 22.
Yeah.
But stepping on a board with 4 back wheels, you felt like you could just go anywhere, and it would wouldn't spin, it would just carve. And when I finally got the thing out this spring, it's not quite there yet, but maybe it just needs some tuning.
Huh.
I build a lot of skateboards.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I knew Willie. I used to hang out with him once in a while. He's I was with him actually right before he died.
How old are you?
I'm 42.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, there was quite a rivalry between Toronto. Hamilton was actually a huge skateboarding hot spot back then.
Really? Huh.
I worked for a guy named Charlie. I can't remember his last name. Out of Dundas, Ontario. He owned Sunsport Skateboards.
Okay.
And I was his chief board builder, and I ran his competition team. So we used to go to Ontario Place, down to the docks. There was skateboard contests back in the 70s, all over the place. And Willie was there, and I remember skating with Ty Page. He showed up. They were promoting California Freeformer.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because it was kind of they were on the backside of the trend, of the fad, and of course in Canada we're always 2 or 3 years behind, so we were right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Cool. I think I'm good for now, man. I got a lot of
I just filled your head with shit. No, seriously. Seriously, when I walked into Dyson's Pharmacy in Grimsby, Ontario, 1960, I'm going to say 68, and went to the magazine rack every how old would I be? 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
And picked up a copy of Surfer magazine. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Look at this, because I'd known about surfing, and it was still John Severson was still the editor back then.
Yeah.
And because it was 2 years after the transition, 1966 is when Nat Young won the world championship on Magic Sam. Do you know the story?
No.
Well, 1966 world championship was one round event. It was at Oceanside in California, and this Australian guy showed up, and he had the world's first shortboard. It was 9 feet. It was 9 feet long, and he'd got a guy named George Greeno out of Santa Barbara to build a fin for it.
Yeah.
And the fin flexed. It wasn't a big barn door, but it was more like a modern fin, but it flexed.
Yeah.
And, Young went out there and, basically, 3-foot crap, and just rode the crap out of everything, back and forth, cutbacks off the top.
Yeah.
And the whole world, imagine right now you drive a car.
Yeah.
Imagine 2 years from now you're flying.
Right.
That was the transition era. Surfing went from riding, 10-foot, nose riders at Malibu with big barn door fins to 2 years later they were riding, 7-foot, 6-foot, 5-foot twin fins. It just, the whole
Wow.
surfing world was turned upside down.
Right. Huh. Cool.
I built a copy of Magic Salmon. I'm looking at it right now,
Yeah.
from pictures, and I surfed it for a couple of summers, and it's like,
Yeah.
because I wanted to feel it. I
Yeah.
wanted to know what the feeling was. I don't know if it's a very good example of it, but it's what I came up with, and it really is. That's kind of what I like to do. I like to build things that the other people had, and just know how it felt for them.
Yeah. Nice. Cool.
Anyway,
all right.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Hey, you're in Ancaster, is that true?
It is true.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If I'm ever down that way, I'd love to come by and check out is it your garage or your shop or?
It's just a garage.
Yeah.
There's like I said, there's 20, 30, 40 boards just hanging from the ceiling, and other boards that I've built over time that are just sitting there waiting to find a home.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, I'd love to check it.
Yeah. Check out
Cool.
Grumpy Bob. I'm working. I split the blank on that Dewey Weber because the stringer was completely rotted out.
Yeah.
So when I get back from Florida, I'm driving straight down to Jersey. I hang out with a guy named Brian Gagliani at Greenlight Surf Supply. He's kind of a friend of mine. We've got a relationship over the years, and
Yeah.
he basically he's the East Coast supplier for high quality foam blanks, and that's where I buy all my materials. Everything I buy is like top of the line, and I'm could be working with him. I think I'll get him to see me a new stringer for this thing out of balsa.
Oh yeah, I see with the boat ring on it. That's hilarious.
You saw the picture of that?
Yeah.
It is so ugly. You know where I found that thing? In Caledonia.
Weird.
Caledonia, Ontario, and the guy got my name from my mom. She's 90 some odd years old.
Wow.
And they worked together at the Canadian Warplane Heritage.
Yeah.
And his buddy Frank Kunkel is one of the original Wyldewood members from the 60s. Him and Rick Rickard's his name. They still kind of travel a little bit, surf, Mexico. As you get older, you start craving warm water.
Yeah.
And he messaged me one time through my mom. He goes, I've got this old surfboard. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. Just come and take it away.
Yeah.
So I looked at the thing, and it's like a Dewey Weber Performer Squareback.
Huh. Wow.
Which is totally in my wheelhouse. It's a transition era board, probably 1967, 1968.
Wow.
And totally waterlogged. And I just went, okay, I'm gonna do a restoration on this thing.
Yeah. Nice.
Anyway, that's
cool.
just kind of where I am.
Awesome.
It's not where the rest of the world is. It's just it's my thriving mouse hole.
Awesome.
Talk to you later, Colin.
Thanks so
See
much.
you later.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I'd like to thank Bob Sobering for the interview from back in 2017. I checked with him to see if he was cool with us running it, and here's what he had to say. A lot of changes have taken place in those 7 years since we last spoke, he said. The profound effect of the pandemic, the huge rise in the popularity of surfing, the loss, or should I say lack of interest in the history of the activity, they've all made people like me an outlier. I achieved retirement age in 2020, started a side hustle, Grumpy Bob Surf and Skate, created many surfboards, skateboards, and paddleboards, but when the restrictions were lifted, it all ended, and so did my interest. The legitimacy of soft-top surfboards and inflatable paddleboards from the Orient just destroyed any chance of carrying on with building handmade and crafted boards locally. Moving forward, I have transitioned to boating, fishing, and camping with my family. As an aside, it may be interesting to hear what I had to say all those years ago and compare them to how I feel today. Well, I wonder how he feels. Thanks again, Bob. Our West Coast MC Feet Banks will probably be back in 2 weeks' time, but I promise nothing. Thanks to you all for listening. Don't forget to check out the print editions of Mountain Life magazine. You can get a subscription over at mountainlifemedia.ca, along with all the swag you could ever need. We're still offering a free t-shirt to anyone rocking a Mountain Life tattoo, but no one's come through yet. Thanks to Shariah Rules for the voiceovers in the intro, and to Adrian Gendro for the guitar licks. Until next time, 2 wheels, 1 love. Peace.